The war that we're experiencing is internal. Essentially, the agenda of the darker forces is to misdirect us. These darker forces are created by God. And the only way you're going to be able to connect to that heaven and earth or that paradise or that Garden of Eden is within you. This happens through forgiveness. No matter what challenge you're going through, the answer is forgiveness. Forgive what's happening, forgive that you chose this experience. Here on earth, we're so busy trying to create a utopia. We can't see that it's not paradise we're here to explore, really, but we're here to reveal the paradise within us. This is a holy battleground. This is a challenge. It's a difficult life. The thing that created us was those light beings, those light energies, those cosmic energies created us, and they made a sacrifice to create us. Hi, beautiful souls. Welcome back to the channel, Beautiful Awakening with Shantia. So in today's video, we are going to be discussing Ahriman and Lucifer, and I'm also going to be sharing a channeled message that I received in relation to your mission. So the intention of this video is for us to identify and discern what your mission is, and perhaps also what the mission of the darker forces is, so that you can access within you the clarity and the conviction that you need to awaken, ascend, and align with your true self. So we're going to be decoding Ahriman and Lucifer today. And I think this would be interesting. I think it is important whenever we're talking about the darker forces to sort of demystify the fear around them. If you're aware of what they represent and essentially what you're looking for, then there's really not that much or anything to be afraid of. So starting out, I channeled a message the other day, and the first thing I saw was someone in a cave. It was a guy. I've gotten a few cave visions before, one earlier this year and one I think a couple years ago as well. And I saw a man in a cave, and he was looking up at the cave, and there were inscriptions. And these inscriptions were essentially ancient wisdom or knowledge that were given to us and gifted to us from the divine. And this is gifted to us humans. So there might actually be an opportunity in the upcoming years for certain ancient discoveries to be made that have been hidden. I was seeing a cave, so it's possible that this cave has just been buried through weather and all kind of interesting transformations that the earth has been going through. Perhaps it called for an awakening at this time of earth for that ancient knowledge to be revealed. It could also just be a metaphor. So I saw a man, he was looking at these inscriptions. It was like signals. It looked like Japanese writing of some sort, like calligraphy on the walls, and there were little inscriptions, and each one was supposed to represent knowledge. And it was a cave that apparently people would go to connect with the divine and get the knowledge that they needed. And I think the cave is such a special symbology because it signifies the inner caves within us, our depth, our hidden depths. It signifies how, in order for us to find that knowledge that we seek to connect with the universe, we have to go search for it. Otherwise, we don't have access to it. So this is what I channeled for the message. The story was written long ago. We are spiritual warriors, beings who have made a great sacrifice to explore this existence and who must continue to live in sacrifice. This dimension isn't a paradise. It's a holy battleground. Embedded in our DNA is the 144 code, the Earth Angel and Lightworker code of a promise since the beginning of existence to redeem all souls on earth. When we free ourselves of this pretend hell, the true kingdom of heaven will be revealed in us. We are portals, multidimensional beings, gods and goddesses on earth. We are created from a great sacrifice and must live by a great sacrifice to embody our true selves. We must choose radical forgiveness, love, and kindness in response to all situations. Hatred and anger are extinguished by love and devotion to the great Mother and Father who created us. They ask that we choose wisely, for there are only two options: love or hate. We're spiritual warriors, every single one of us. Everything here on earth is meant to be redeemed. We're essentially the bottom of the existence of these higher energies. We're an experimentation, an exploration, a manifestation of these energies. And here on earth, we're so busy trying to create a utopia. We can't see that it's not paradise we're here to explore, really, but we're here to reveal the paradise within us. This is a holy battleground. This is a challenge. It's a difficult life. The thing that created us was those light beings, those light energies, those cosmic energies created us. And they made a sacrifice to create us. And sacrifice is the way, it's a pathway, it's the Christ consciousness way. And it's not about being a martyr necessarily, or just throwing yourself in front of the line of throwing yourself in front of something, or sacrificing. You're not sacrificing for nothing. The sacrifice is to live life with integrity. It's to choose forgiveness and love above all else, even when hatred is staring you in the face. That's the sacrifice. It's the discomfort. It's the pain in our body that we feel. It's the karma we have to experience when we are experiencing our human incarnations. So to be a human is very challenging. We have those demons on our shoulder, we have those angels, and we have to make a choice to choose, right? They ask that we choose wisely, for there are only two options, love or hate. This is why we awaken, because we must awaken to understanding that we have a choice. And that choice requires us to sacrifice our attachment to the illusion. In us, we all have the 144 code. Not everyone is able to access it because they're not listening, they're not being still enough to receive it, but all people have the ability to receive it. There are no bad or good. This is just sort of a play of energies with one another, the shadow and light. And when we discuss Lucifer later on, we're going to get more into depth about how that expresses itself, because Lucifer is actually a much more complex being, a multifaceted being than one would think. So the next part I wrote here is forgiveness is so important. I think in the Bible they wrote to forgive 7 times 77. And this is how we create heaven on earth, is through forgiveness. It's not through trying to create this perfect new earth where we're not creating chemicals. There will always be challenges here on earth because that's what's meant to be explored here in this dimension at this time. It's challenges. We're meant to explore challenges. And the only way you're going to be able to connect to that heaven and earth, or that paradise, or that Garden of Eden, is within you. This happens through forgiveness. No matter what challenge you're going through, the answer is forgiveness. Forgive what's happening. Forgive that you chose this experience. The forgiveness is overcoming the challenge that you chose this. Overcoming the fear of being in certain situations. Because you chose this, some part of you knows that you will always be safe and protected and guided through this entire journey. Our mind is built to construct a very intricate maze that can misdirect us towards victimhood. We can either choose to solve this maze through our intelligence or with the higher intelligence of our heart. Trust that all will be resolved, for that was always the plan of the divine. The darker forces will say otherwise. The war that we're experiencing is internal. Essentially, the agenda of the darker forces is to misdirect us. These darker forces are created by God. God is the I am. God is that neutral space. We're here to find a way to understand and come to terms with that God created all of this, and that will bring immense amount of peace to your experience. How do the darker forces agenda show up? What does it look like? It shows up as perhaps an inner war. So this is mental health. That's a huge issue on the planet. It will always be a huge issue because this is where the Lucifer or Ahriman influences happen, is within us. Or it manifests itself as an outer war through politics or false separatism. So we're always thinking, oh, I'm red, you're blue. We're creating false separatism. We're projecting our inner insecurities out onto others. It manifests as escapism, drugs, egoism, selfishness that encourages self-serving behaviors, fear-based creations, medicine, poisons, technology. And technology encourages escapism through TV, movies, binge watching, social media, the internet, video games, scrolling continuously. So the other day I was taking a walk with my nephew and we were out and the sun was beaming, it was hot. And I was trying to look at my cell phone. I couldn't see anything out in the sunlight. I had it on the brightest light and I couldn't see anything. And I thought that was so interesting that in the brightest sunlight, this cell phone has no power to fight the sun rays. I would have to go indoors to be able to watch my cell phone. Our cell phone, our technology, is a way for the darker forces to distract us, essentially. The darker forces are here to disconnect us from Earth and disconnect us from others. We become overstimulated and we become distracted from the obvious truth. And the obvious truth is that we can get along and that we can harmonize and we can work with one another. But it's also part of the game, I guess you could call it. It's part of the challenge we're here to experience is, whoa, you're being bombarded by all of these obstacles. How are you going to find a way to maintain your focus in spite of it? Everything in life is a double-edged sword. Everything in life is a double-edged sword. So while I'm calling out certain things like technology also has its advantages too. It helps us to connect. Here, I'm able to make this video thanks to technology. But if we don't find a way to moderate our relationship, moderate our usage of the escapism tools or technology that we have, then we're going to find ourselves lost again and disconnected. Knowing that everything in life can be a double-edged sword, even food, right? Food can be good, it can be very nourishing, but if you overindulge, it can really put so much pressure on your body. It can put a lot of pressure on your nervous system. That's why living consciously and making a choice to decide what direction you want to go in and how your choices impact you is important. We are here to find a balance between those darker forces of Ahriman and Lucifer. If you're interested in getting more information on Ahriman and Lucifer, I would highly recommend Rudolf Steiner's research. He's written tons of books. I don't know, it's endless. I think I've heard someone say like 50 or 40 or something. He's written many, many books. He's done lectures on spirituality, and I think he really appeals to academics. He appeals to people who are very intelligent, which when you're going through your spiritual journey, a lot of those teachers are highly intelligent. But the challenge here on Earth is that we want to connect to more of our heart intelligence. His founding of anthroposophy and his participation of that was for the sake of showing that there is science in spirituality. Science alone is heartless. It's disconnected from any kind of morality. But science with God gives us integrity. It gives us a pathway that we follow, a way to live in life that upholds high moral standards. I feel like I'm talking in circles somewhat, but let's just go with it. I would highly recommend Rudolf Steiner. I discovered him through someone named Douglas Gabriel on YouTube, who's also offers free works, which, by the way, you can find Rudolf Steiner's work for free on the internet. And I became curious because I never heard about Ahriman before. I heard Satan, I heard of the devil. I've heard of Lucifer before, especially from TV shows, but I had never heard of Ahriman. So I was very curious to know. They're beings who serve distinct agendas, but they're a part of a collective dark force agenda. They work in sync with one another. We're here to find balance between Ahriman and Lucifer. Ahriman represents more of the 3D materialism here. They say he's like the demon of demons. And Lucifer represents the seductive wisdom, which is interesting, right? You're like, what? A darker force energy that represents wisdom. But Lucifer pulls us from wanting to be away from our existence here on Earth. He very much is the best symbology for escapism. And some people who are connected to spirituality, they're very connected, but they don't want to participate in their role here. And just as I mentioned in the channeled message earlier, we are here to be here. We have a mission. We have a purpose here. And if we don't know that, if we're disconnected from that, we'll get lost in the sauce. So we're here to find a balance between Lucifer, who's trying to pull us up, and Ahriman, who's trying to pull us down. I was brought to an example of the Palace of Versailles. The Palace of Versailles was built for the sake of representing opulence and wealth. It's a symbol of opulence and wealth to show how great they are and how close to God they were. A lot of the higher figures in history, kings and queens, had elaborate art, portraits, paintings, architectural upgrades made to connect them to God. And the Egyptians did something very similar too. They were very elaborate in their visual creations. The Egyptians were more connected to Mother Earth and Source, but we often get caught up in the agenda of wanting to brag or think that our physical surroundings or opulence or kingdoms is a representation of our connection to God. And it absolutely isn't. It's a complete illusion. We'll get into more detail about it. But I felt like the Palace of Versailles was a perfect example of Ahriman and Lucifer. Ahriman's about materialism. Lucifer is about, I want to be this like grand illusion. I want to feel like I'm closer to God in this way. But you don't get closer to God through any kind of physical circumstance. You get closer to God within yourself. So you don't have to go anywhere, be anyone important to be close to God. The modern word for Ahriman is also Satan. Ahriman represents materialism. Ahriman creates that 3D trap keeps us asleep at the wheel, essentially. I felt like Rahu was also a very good symbol of Ahriman, because Rahu is all about being here in this world, wanting to be here, obsessed with wanting to build wealth, perhaps, obsessed with wanting to do something here in this 3D world. Ahriman is about the outer world, the physical, the tangible. Ahriman is also a representation of science, facts. People think, oh, well, I got the facts, I got the measurements about something, so this shows you what exists and what's real. And people are constantly debating over what's true and what's not true because they feel like they have the facts. There's no such thing as a fact. There's no such thing as a fact because everything we're experiencing is a perception. And as time evolves, you'll find that science or certain things become outdated because we're evolving. We live in a fluid structure. Everything is fluid. Everything is energy. There's no such thing as facts. Ahriman also attaches us to our body. So this is where people become obsessed about working out. They become fixated on their image, which sometimes we can't help it. We get very self-conscious about it. But even the Bible states that we're not supposed to worry about what we look like, what we wear. When we fixate on this stuff, it attaches us to materialism, and sometimes we end up spiraling as a result of trying to maintain a certain status. So we feel like, oh, I need to have the money to have the clothes to look good. And a lot of people feel like, well, if I have a nice presentation, people will find me worthy or important or valuable. But this is an illusion. It is important to maintain hygiene and be healthy, I think, but our fixation on our diet and our body changes, aging, people have issues with aging. Ahriman is a very good representation of people resisting aging. People are constantly trying to think, how can I live longer here on this earth? How can my skin stop aging? Just because you have these certain inclinations as a human doesn't make you a bad person. It's just important to be aware that we have these inclinations. We don't want to become overly obsessed or fixated on these ideas because it pulls us away from God, our relationship and our connection with God. Understanding that this body is temporary. People are trying to live to be 200 to 300, but that's going to create issues further into the future because they won't value the short amount of time that they have here on earth, and they won't focus on doing their inner work. They'll be trying to live up life and skip aging, I guess, slow down aging, and we're missing the point. We're missing the opportunity that we're here to do our work, fix our karma, and transform from inside out. Poisons is also a good representation of Ahriman, medicines, vaccinations, all the things that people tell us that we need. One of the best ways for us to discern what is Ahriman, what is this representation of this 3D attachment illusion, is to do a not this meditation. Because we're essentially not anything that we think we are. Ahriman is intelligence without heart. Scientists, like when people do all of this research and they're like, well, I know the facts and this is how you do it and this is how, we're here to customize our own unique experiences, even our spiritual experiences. I'm sharing this today, but this isn't facts by any means. I feel like this is a fun exploration of understanding how we work and how we operate. But I'm always wanting to open my mind to other possibilities or to open my mind to more. That's the way I was able to receive this information, is because I opened my mind up. I opened my heart up to receive and to understand how things work. At times we want to structure things and we wanted to put it into a perfect, beautiful, seamless structure. But just know that for all the things that are structured and put together, everything falls apart and it has to collapse as well. Don't take it too seriously, basically. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about Lucifer. So Lucifer is known as the light bearer, the fallen angel. But because we are all created from angelic light beings and energy and cosmic energy, we're all essentially fallen angels to some extent. That's what it took to create us, the sacrifice they made to create us. Lucifer is seductive wisdom. To me, I feel like I like to connect him to K2 as well. He's that sort of illusion, that fantasy world. I think seductive wisdom perfectly describes Lucifer because we all think, oh, wisdom is great. You know, wanting to get closer to God is so wonderful. But if you want so badly to be with God that you miss the opportunity, or you miss the point that you're here to be here in your physical body and you want to escape it, then there's a huge disconnect that's happening. I think people often like to point to the Garden of Eden with Adam and Eve, where they were tempted by the snake, or told by the snake, who was like intelligence, serpent, could have been a representation of Lucifer, to eat the apple. And then as a result, had to experience some kind of pain or karma. Lucifer is also a symbol of our inner world, our imagination. TV, movies most certainly represent Lucifer very well. So you can also connect to Lucifer with tamasic energy. Tamasic energy is about sort of being lazy, just like kind of not wanting to be in your body, not wanting to be here. Lucifer is also a representation of self-awareness. So thanks to the Luciferic wisdom, we're able to have this intelligence to connect. From Rudolf Steiner's research, he talked about how we had Luciferic beings that were here who helped to offer that wisdom so that humans knew what to do. But it was very much exclusive. The information was exclusive, and now it's not exclusive, which is great. But instead of us connecting to God through Luciferic wisdom, we have to go through an initiation process, which is essentially our awakening and our ascension process, and that's how we connect to the wisdom. Lucifer also promotes selfishness, egoism, and self-seeking way of living life. He is that part of our subconscious that claims to be right and have everything figured out. I feel like Armand goes hand in hand with that as well. He's also the one that's attached to spiritual structures without grounding. Lucifer is a challenge for us to let go of what we think we know. People are always debating about their wisdom and what's right and this is right. That's a temptation everyone has to struggle with it. No spiritual teacher is free of this. Everyone's always like, okay, this is kind of more of the way to do it, which in a sense is good because you want to discern and you want to get into the nitty-gritty and do the real work and not put off doing what you actually have to do here and identifying what you actually have to do. Lucifer represents desire. A lot of our struggles as humans is that we worship desire. We worship our desires. We follow our desires. And instead of worshiping our desires, we're supposed to surrender our desires and let go of it and trust that we're provided for. This is where sometimes false gurus are created, or teachings are created, where people are teaching you to actually worship your desire, because these teachings lack actual wisdom, encourage you to manipulate your circumstance to get a certain desired outcome, which can be problematic. We're not here to get what we want or manipulate our external circumstance to get what we want. We're here to work with what we have and appreciate what we have and trust that whatever it is that we need or wherever we're going, things will be provided for. If we try too early to initiate, to take action, to make things happen, usually it's coming from our ego. Trust the process, trust the flow of things, trust what feels natural for you, trust that heart energy in you that just says like, oh, this feels good, this feels right, as opposed to, I need this to happen, right? Sometimes you can, if you listen really clearly, you can discern between the voice that feels needy versus the voice that feels more calm and trusting at what they're feeling called to do. True teachings also teach us restraint and discipline, appreciation for what is as opposed to manipulation of what we want to be. And I quoted this from someone: men should abandon earthly matters in favor of a spear aloof from the earth, a spear where he would be the ruler. I think that's Rudolf Steiner's work. That's what Lucifer's goal is to, or agenda is to be a ruler. Hey, I have this special kingdom where I'm building palaces and it's better than heaven. And if you do what I tell you to do, you can get all of this, as opposed to trusting and following your heart. Yeah, that's where deprivation and struggle and discipline comes into play. Is a lot of us who awaken, we're going to go through a falling away, a shedding away of our physical circumstance, because we're being taught, we're being prepped to let go, to detach from the physical, so that we connect more and we attune to more of our true self. Another message that I received the other day was that we are shrimp, but we're powerful shrimp. We're kind of bottom feeders. We are bottom feeders at the bottom of this hierarchy here. And I know humans often want to feel like, oh, we're just so great, so grand. The higher beings don't see themselves that way. They don't see themselves as superior to us. That's how you know we have a problem, because any attachment to a superior mindset tells you that you obviously have some temptations, some addictive lower thoughts and energies running through you that you have to discern. An article that Douglas Gavier wrote, he said that it is the mission of human beings to redeem Lucifer and bring him back to the throne of God with the help of Sophia. Sophia represents divine wisdom, the being of wisdom. She is part of the female Holy Trinity, the Mother, the Daughter, and the Holy Sophia. He mentioned that only the lowest rank of the hierarchy, a human, has the power to end the war in heaven that casts Lucifer to earth. We must thank Lucifer for the light that rushes throughout our bodies and creates images that can teach us about the world around us. Perception is a miracle where the Luciferic hosts and God battle every second of human life. If humans can see through matter to the spirit behind, they can redeem matter through perception and thereby redeem Lucifer. So everything is meant to be redeemed. I absolutely feel that in my heart. I connect with that. Don't be afraid of these energies or these beings. They're just doing their part. They're playing their part, so to speak. We struggle in this dimension because our nature is freedom. That's why we struggle so much with what's going on, because as beings who were created from these beautiful, free, cosmic light energies, we struggle with being in our bodies. We struggle with having to be stuck in certain situations, and we want to resist it. But that's part of what this dimension is here to show us, is like, yes, you're kind of trapped in this physical circumstance and in this body. You can't just go and fly and be anywhere that you want to, but something in you can. It's very transcendent. And if you can connect with that, even while staying grounded, you have found a way to master yourself, or step into an energy of mastery. Don't ever worry about the darker forces. I don't have this doom and gloom. I've never believed in this doom and gloom attitude about life. We can all be cynical, but what would be the point when there's an out? There's a solution that's already provided for us. That's why I wanted to discuss this. It's like, yeah, we have some dark agendas and dark forces here that are at play, but there's nothing to fear. If you can identify what it is, oh, materialism, oh, my mind is spiraling, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I want to just do what I want, I want to just give in to my desires, but I have to be disciplined. I have to acknowledge the true work that I'm needing to do within myself. Here are some of the solutions for how we can overcome the difficulties of these dark forces or shadow energies. We need to cultivate detachment to this overstimulated reality. So you have to unplug. You have to learn to unplug, and you have to learn, even while you're amongst an overstimulated situation of the sort, to find a quiet space within yourself and to be there. It's not like you're trying to like disappear and disconnect. And when you're going through your spiritual ascension process, you're going to toggle back and forth between Ahriman and Lucifer energy, where you just want to not be here, to, oh, everything is just pain and I have to worry about money and I have to, you start fixating on money or your body and all of these things. And then you're like, oh no, I just want to leave. So we're trying to find a balance between those two energies. You want to practice stillness, relaxing. This is great. When you are still, you're doing less. Your body naturally grounds. You don't necessarily have to be in Mother Nature to ground. Mother Nature is very helpful. When we're on our cell phones or on technology indoors, we're disconnected from Mother Nature. Most certainly make sure to go outside and connect with the fresh air and fresh energy outside that's generously given to us and provided for us thanks to Mother Earth. But relaxing is important. Relaxing your energy, relaxing your nervous system. Silence. Silence is important. I actually meditate best when in silence and not through guided meditations. I can do a guided meditation, they're fine. I like silence. I like nothing, because that's actually how I learned to listen to spirit. Just cutting everything off. I could hear something talking to me and communicating to me, and they're communicating to us 24/7. That's why people can get online and share their channeled messages every day, because we have these beautiful energies in communication with us 24/7. And they're not, trying to beat down our door to talk to us. They're harmonious energies, and they're just there. They're offering their wisdom and their light. And so when we're going through these trials and tribulations of life, the ups and downs, and we think we're alone, we're probably not spending enough time in stillness or in silence to receive the love and the peace that is being offered to us. So you might be under the illusion that you're going through some kind of difficult circumstance, but I'm telling you, if you spend some more time in stillness, you'll see that everything is fine. You are good. Because that's the way the divine works. It's hardwired that way. They're hardwired to help and assist us where need be. Next thing you can do is you can do conscious doing. Take your time when you're doing anything. Take your time When I decided to cut off work, it gave me a huge advantage in learning how to just take my time in doing things. A lot of people are impatient, and people are becoming more impatient. My projection of where things are going is that things are going to essentially get worse, more intense. People are going to become even more impatient. And that's why we're all needing to do the work so that we can ascend. You don't want to be stuck in the birth cycle and come back here. It's going to be hard. It's going to get harder. It's going to get even more challenging. So let's say you're an old soul and you've woken up many times before. It was easier then than it is now. It's much harder to wake up now because the world is just becoming more and more overstimulated. You know, people are trying to create a utopia here. You can't create a utopia here. This is a battleground. This is a battleground. And until we can acknowledge that, we're going to be in denial, essentially. We're not here to create the perfect world. We're not here to do that. We're here to find peace within ourselves. And then we can be that energy. You can be the existence of a beautiful world. You can give that energy and that experience to the people who come into contact with you on a daily basis. You can give them peace. You can give them contentment. Because a lot of people are losing their minds. They're losing their minds in this world to all of these distractions that are going on. And the dark forces are succeeding. They're doing a phenomenal job at their part by getting us caught in materialism, by getting us caught in trying to work, to make money, to create a certain lifestyle. People are very much convinced that that's what they're here to do. You know, Ahriman is putting people asleep. So we got to wake up and stay awake. And when we go through our own unique awakening experience, this opens the door for more people to have access to it. Our energy alone is very significant. It's very influential. So you don't necessarily have to be a spiritual teacher to have that influence. Your energy alone is influencing. If you were to drop food coloring into a cup of water and you see it disperse and spread, that's essentially how our energy is. It's moldable, it's movable. It influences people who are around us. And it influences the world, and it helps to feed Mother Earth as well. Do your part. Trust yourself. Go on your own awakening journey and see where it takes you. The last thing that is helpful for us to do is for us to forgive. I want to emphasize this again, how important this is. As someone who is identifying the 144 code in their DNA and who's waking up, the contrast will be very stark. You are going to notice that you are a peaceful person who wants to give peace and offer peace and create peace in this world. But there are other forces or energies around you, perhaps, who do not have the same intentions. It's part of the equation. People actually need to see you, even if they don't understand what's consciously going on. Subconsciously and unconsciously, they're picking up on the signals. When people who are unconscious are around conscious people, they start to notice something. They're like, why does this person think differently? Or why are they different? Or what's going on? Or why are they triggering? They start to question things. You can be an agent of change for any person who comes into contact with you. This is why it's important to really pay attention to the real work and to awaken and to transcend, to ascend, because you're influential in that way. You know, digital media, social media, work, money really distracts us from our real power in showing us what we're doing in this world and how we're helping people. We think that our followers online is a representation of some kind of success, but it isn't. It has nothing to do with that. Your true success is how well you're able to connect with yourself and feel content in your life while being very aware of the pain that exists and yet somehow maintaining inner peace. That is where it's at. The last note I had, this was a last minute message that wanted to come through. For those of you who feel like you're hidden or you've been hermiting for some time, just know that if you're hiding or you're feeling called to hermit, or let's just say things are very quiet in your life, just know that that is by design. You're hidden by design because you are in training. It is really hard, when God is wanting to put us out there to be of service. He wants us to be at our best. So he's going to give us that quiet time to really process what we're going through. Because just imagine if the older version of you had gotten success earlier, money, wealth, opportunities. what would your mindset have been? I'm willing to bet when you go through an awakening or an ascension process, you feel much more humbled by life, and the simple things make you happy. You appreciate the simple things in life. And it's not like you're being punished. You might look around and think to yourself, why do other people have access to those certain things? But we're all in a different place in our soul's evolution. Take the time to really see who you are and what work you're needing to do on yourself so that you can cultivate that holy grail inside of you. You need that peace. You need that downtime. You need that quiet. You need things not to go the way that you want so that you're able to strengthen yourself. When you're hidden away, that's an opportunity for you to do your training, for you to do what needs to be done. Otherwise, it's hard for you to even teach. I sort of brushed over it earlier when I was talking about false gurus, but a lot of people teach other people to worship desires. They teach other people to focus on what they want and get what they want. When in truth, when we appreciate what we have, what we want, sometimes may arrive, but more importantly, what we need will arrive. You're never going to manifest the perfect life. And in fact, I think I read in someone's article in relation to Ahriman and Lucifer, our desires, right? The Luciferic energy will never be satiated. That's why you need to surrender them. Our desires will never be satiated. It will never be enough. Because there's no enoughness that lives in this realm of existence. So it's better for you to come to terms with that sooner than later and understand that, oh, this is just the way I work. That way, you're not building up these false illusions continuously and you're more connected. You understand that you are everything you need to be right now. Trust that. I hope that helped you guys in some way. If you have any questions, just ask me. And I'm not claiming to know everything about Lucifer and the Ahriman energy. I'm just saying it's good to identify it. That way, when you're moving through life and whatever circumstances you're experiencing, you can handle it. And you understand what's going on. You're more conscious. And this is here to help you expand. Whoa, there's so many things going on. That's kind of cool. There's like agendas, dark force agendas going on. There's a battle going on and I'm part of it. And this final point I want to make is that you are a spiritual warrior, right? You're part of the 144. You are a spiritual warrior. It's not meant to be easy. It's meant to be very challenging. And there will be times where you want to cry, you want to give up, but because you've been able to push through to where you're at right now, you have everything that you need. You have all the capabilities to keep going. I always come on here and I show my positive side because I love making these videos. I can't help it. But I definitely have moments in life myself where I struggle with what's going on and I'm having a hard time coming to terms with how things have unfolded. But I know it's just a story that's playing in my head. And to me, the forgiveness element is very important. I was like, oh my gosh, this is not going to be what I want it to be. I better forgive this and understand that I'm here to be love for people. At the same time, it's an illusion. So I have to forgive it. I have to forgive what's happening. I have to forgive what's going on. I have to forgive perhaps what that person said to me or did to me because I will not be able to move on with my life. And I want to move on. I just want to move on. I want to move on. But we have to continuously do that. And that can be a very challenging thought, is to understand that we will have to forgive 7 times 77 times 77 times 77. You have to forgive from the beginning to the end of time of your existence here on earth, because that's the way that you feel free. You understand, I don't care what happens. I don't care what the circumstances is. It's all correct. It's all right. You're all right. That's going to be the end of this video. Thank you guys for being with me here today. And thank you guys so much for supporting. I actually had a clip that I took out in my channeled message video, my second one, where I was like, oh my gosh, people are still watching this channel. What? Why? Yeah, I was kind of thinking that, but I'm appreciative of you guys being here and watching these videos, and I hope you're learning something or receiving something from this experience or expanding further into your own knowledge about how things are operating or feel supported in your journey. I'm happy and I'm excited and I'm honored to be a part of that experience for you. Have a beautiful day or evening wherever you're at, and just know that the best thing that you can do is to wake up and to stay awake. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.